Welcome to Sports Buzz, the Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio. Once again, we are live, 6 o'clock on a Thursday, March 8th. Feels a lot like spring out there.
Like summer.
Oh my goodness, what a day it was out there today here in the Danbury area. We are here until 6:30. We'll open the phone lines right away. 203-792-4101 is the number if you'd like to call and get in on any of the sports talk, but you know how it goes. We're going to move fast and we're going to keep moving. We're not going to wait for you. If you don't pick up the phone, we're going to keep moving. So that's the way it is.
It's now or never.
Now or never. And we're doing a lot of local stuff. We got local stuff all over, including the Danbury Whalers,
which are doing very well.
Ready for the playoffs.
Yes.
A lot of high school playoffs and state championships underway. We're going to talk about that. On the college scene, UConn, WestConn, Fairfield even.
Yes.
Talk about them. And even locally with the pros all playing each other in the last couple weeks. A lot of pro basketball and hockey matchups between New York and Boston teams. So we'll get to all that, and we will say hello. As you see there, the FHL preview. We'll get to it with Bob right now.
Yes.
What's going on, Mr. Bob Broad Jr.?
How are you, Scott?
I'm very good. Or will your Spotlight On fans be able to see some of this upcoming action?
Oh, they will.
Got a lot of the games going down as we see the Whalers will be ready to take on Brooklyn. And, you know, this is an old rivalry even dating back to the other leagues, right? Not just the FHL.
Yes.
Brooklyn has always been in the mix. So these two teams, familiar foes, as they matched up in the playoffs in the first round last year, which Brooklyn won.
Yes.
Brooklyn was the top team going into the playoffs, I think, last year, even though they didn't win the championship. So the Whalers knew they were up against it last year. This year they're looking for a revenge in this rematch situation. The Whalers are the higher seed, number 3.
Yes.
They come in. Danbury finished 28-22-1. I think that's the record, if that makes any sense. Four numbers there. Third place finish in the FHL. And they start, interestingly enough, 2 out of 3.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm a big fan of the first game being on the road.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, but, you know, that's...
Then you get the next 2, including the deciding game 3, if needed, at home. You just have to make sure you get to that game 3 if you need it. You don't want to lose that first game on the road. Then you're in a do-or-die situation coming home.
And the first and the 6th team does not make sense.
Yeah, we're looking at the schedule. 3 versus 4 is best 2 out of 3.
Yes.
2 versus 5 is best 2 out of 3. 1 versus 6 is best 3 out of 5. So the number 1 seeded New Jersey Outlaws, with their 38 wins, by far the tops in the league, take on the number 6 Cape Cod Bluefins with only 12 wins. So they should, you know, make that a 1-game series.
Right. Yeah, should be one and done.
3 out of 5, they're going to sit around for an extra weekend, which, you know, I don't really get that at all. We'll figure it out as it goes. The other matchup is the number 2 seed, Thousand Islands, with their salad dressing. Privateers taking on the number 5 seeded Akwesasne Warriors. Thousand Island also had 28 wins, but they outpointed Danbury for the number 2 seed. And Akwesasne only had 18 wins this year. Akwesasne was a defending champion, correct?
Yes, from last year, yep.
So they have fallen off a little bit this year. My guys in the studio jumping the gun with the WestConn hoops. Yeah. They want me to move on right away, Bob.
They want to get out. They want to get out of us.
We will get to
Whalers before we can even get.
Hold your horses in there. Maybe they're upset I haven't mentioned their shows yet.
And maybe you should mention the shows.
Mike Tilley, of course, Expose Cinema Friday nights. John Newmeiler with Danbury Live Saturday nights. You can catch those guys, and they are in studio again. My fantastic new crew doing a great job as usual. So yeah, and the crowds are going to be tremendous down in Danbury.
Last week, Saturday night, 3,000.
3,000 saw them clinch the playoffs and the number 3 seed. And what was that? The game they won 10-2, or was that?
That was the game they won 10-2.
And
or 10-6.
And then 10-6. That's right. You're right. And 2,500 fans on Sunday. Right?
Yeah.
So huge crowds. They were led the league in attendance. Not surprising once again for the Danbury Whalers, and they come in winning 10 of their last 10. Yeah. 10 of their last 12. So you know, very good run they're on. They're going to have to keep it going. I fully expect them to win. One thing to keep in mind, Corey Fulton suspended for the first game of the series for his actions in the games this past weekend. And they also have some players that have moved up to the ECHL,
yes,
Eastern Conference Hockey League in Bridgeport. So, but Peter Vetri, Player of the Month in goal.
Player of the Year for Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year as
Yes.
well in the league?
Yes.
Was he Player of the Year or just Rookie of the Year?
Rookie of the Year.
All right, but he was Player of the Month for this past month, the last month of the season. So all you hockey fans, we know there's plenty of you out there. There'll be plenty down there at the Danbury Ice Arena checking it out. Bob will be there. Maybe I'll make an appearance.
As always, I'm up in the booth, so come
maybe
on.
We'll get some. Maybe Bob will bring us some footage next week.
I have footage, actually.
All right, next week we set that up. Okay. Guaranteed, we will see some footage on the show next week. All right, let's move on. We will, before we get to the WestConn, because we'll do that when we talk about college hoops, I do want to touch on some high school action because SWCs has been winding up, FCIC, all that stuff, and the state tournaments going on. First of all, SWC boys basketball immaculate 22-1, Bob.
Yes.
First title since 1997, 64-53. They knocked off Notre Dame of Fairfield, and they're the #1 seed, and they blew out their opponent in their first round. They actually had a bye in the first round,
right? And
they moved on, and they are now advanced into the quarterfinals. As my guys are looking for that Fairfield photos.
Yeah.
They want me to go college hoops in the studio.
Hey, I was down to Fairfield University yesterday for first baseball game of the season.
Oh, yeah?
Against St. John's. St. John's beat them 6-3.
College baseball underway. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. I'm looking, though, for Immaculate to make a run to the final, and they will maybe, if they get that far, meet it up with another SWC, Colby Cathedral, out of Bridgeport. We know Colby.
What color is the team?
Always tough. And they're, of course, coached by the former UConn standout.
The guys
Chris
in the booth want to know what color the jerseys are.
We have no high school photos. Sit tight in the booth, guys. No high school photos. I thought we went over this. Also, hats off to the Brookfield swimming and diving team. They finally get back on top in the SWCs. First time they win since 05-06. Pomperaug has ruled the pool since then, winning the last 5, I believe it was, for Pomperaug Brookfield in what was a thrilling event last Friday night. 597 to 579. It came down to the final relay, which came down to the final lap as they hit the wall and turned even, and Brookfield pulled away, won it by inches, securing their first championship in the SWC since 06, and they had won 2 in a row then. So great year by them. They'll look to win the Class M title as well. They finished 3rd in Class M last year. Maybe they can get back. They won Class M 2 years ago. Maybe they can get that back. That'll take place next week. We'll keep track of that. 4 records went down. Jeff Magan had 2 individuals, and the relay team set 2 records as well for the Brookfield diving. Hockey, speaking of hockey, Brookfield Bethel Danbury team.
Yes, I got to watch some of that.
Knocked off Newtown. They suffered last year in the championship, but they came back this year strong, and they knocked down Newtown 5-1 in the championship game. Luis Dibble's only a junior. Seems like he's been around for this team.
I've known Luis since he was
he's always been a starter for this team. He led them to that state championship run. They fell in the final his year when he was a freshman. And he's still there, 27 and 28 shots. He stopped in that 5-1 win. So they are back. That's their 3rd title. They won in 03 and in 2010. So hats up to Brookfield Bethel Danbury, the co-op team there. Wrestling, New Milford, 9th straight championship for them. No news there. Brookfield had a great showing. Jack McKeever and Joe Wamser Class M titles and State Open. Jack McKeever wins in overtime. Thrilling event. He finished 5th in the New Englands. Danbury also had a sophomore finish 2nd in the New Englands. Kevin Jack. So good job by Danbury wrestler there. That's a big time event. If you can get, the State Open is one thing, but if you compete in New England's and you finish top 5, that is impressive. So good deal there for them. Indoor track and field, let's not forget about them. The Immaculate Girls, right there. They knocked off Weston, who had been the reigning champs, had been winning this thing since 2003. Immaculate Girls winning the indoor state track and field state championships, and the Newtown boys won for them. Good job by them. New Fairfield finished 3rd in the Class M boys, and the Immaculate Girls finished 2nd in the Class S and 6th at the State Open. FCIAC, now let's not forget about them. Danbury girls perfect. They win their conference championship, but they end up 22-1 as Newtown knocks them off in the state Class L quarterfinal. A little tough break for Danbury. They did have a key player suffer an injury, and she was out in this game. And Newtown, though, 20-3 record right now as they advance into the semifinals. 60-47, they knocked off Danbury, but Danbury, incredible year for the Lady Hatters, 22-1. Great job by them. Other local teams doing well in the Class L, Brookfield and Pomperaug. Surprisingly, Brookfield, because they did not have a very good year, although they finished the season pretty strong. And they and Pomperaug both advanced to the Class L quarters, which take place tonight. And also back to hockey, Ridgefield hockey. Let's not forget about them. They're cruising right now in their state championship round, 19-2 record for them. All right, the guys want to show those college basketball.
But those WestConn.
Maybe we can get back to that, because WestConn they did advance to the Division III championship. They won their first round game, 94-84. How about this senior All-American prospect, Daquan Brooks?
Yes, 2,000 and plus points.
Over 2,000 points in his career. 52 points he scored in that game. 45 in the second half for Brooks. And he was the LAC Player of the Year for the third straight year, I believe. And in the offseason, he actually worked with Kemba Walker on his game. Good job by Kemba, former Husky fame, chipping in and helping out Daquan Brooks, and good job by Brooks finding Kemba to work with. So they did fall in the second round, but they did finish 21-6 on the year. Great season for WestConn men's basketball. They lost in the semi to Franklin Marshall, 82-72, and there we see Coach Calhoun back on the sidelines.
You notice how when he comes back, everything goes back to normal?
They start finishing games. They start playing well, although they got knocked off today by those drug-using traders from upstate New York. I think they want to check a little drug test after this game, see if that orange-clad team.
Oh, you mean them the orange men from Syracuse?
Syracuse, see if they violated any drug testing policies that they've been keeping secret for the last decade. Shame on them, and shame on the media. I'm going to have to go back to this whole. We know what happened when the child abuse scandal broke. The media bombarded Penn State, jumped the gun, public lynching of Joe Paterno, and then Syracuse gets their little problems going on, and the media backs off. They want nothing to do with it. And I said then, I wonder why. Syracuse, a broadcasting school?
Yes.
Maybe all those broadcasters working in the local media, national media, don't want to touch Syracuse for some reason. So the story breaks this week that they've been having players not lose any eligibility at all, and they've been keeping a hush-hush that they've had double-digit amount of players failing drug tests over the past 10 years. And nobody talks about it. Free pass for Jim Boeheim in Syracuse. Nobody wants to mention it. So maybe UConn will ask for a drug test after the game today. They did blow an 8-point lead late, disappointing 58-55 score in the third round here of the Big East Conference Championship. But UConn did do enough, however, to earn their bid into the NCAA tournament. They were big-time bubble-bound last week when they lost to Providence in that disappointing loss. But Coach Calhoun comes back Saturday. They knock off Pitt. Then they go ahead and blow out DePaul in the first round. Then they send West Virginia packing. Coach Calhoun giving them the hook right there. West Virginia, goodbye, good riddance. See you in the Big 12. We don't need you anymore in the Big East. Bye-bye for you. Mountaineers run out of the Garden for good yesterday in an overtime game. Shabazz Napier, great job by him. What do you have? 26 points, and he had 2 crucial steals down the stretch of regulation before fouling out, and they finished him off in overtime. Also locally, Fairfield, we will mention them. They did make it to the MAC final. They knocked off Iona, which is bad news for Iona because they are now sweating it out as we wait for Selection Sunday to take place on Sunday because they did not win their MAC final. And we know what happens with these small schools. It doesn't matter, 25, 26 wins on the regular season. You get knocked out of your tournament. Now you got to sweat. And Fairfield did make it to that MAC final. They lost Loyola Maryland in what was a defensive struggle, 48-44. But it was a great run by the Stags, who were 19-14 on the year. But they did make noise in that MAC championship and almost got themselves back in the dance. What was it, like 2-3 years ago they were in? They looked to try to get back in, but they could not come up with enough offense. Their defense looked very good. But Loyola Maryline gets in. Quickly, let's take a look at who has earned those automatic bids. Belmont, Creighton, Davidson, Detroit. Detroit looked like a pretty tough team. I watched some of that game. Harvard, first ever coming out of the Ivy League. Harvard gets in. They remember what happened last year, that disappointing loss at the buzzer basically to Princeton in that one-game playoff, really. And Lehigh is in. Long Island, they win last night. LIU is big dance bound. Loyola Maryland, we mentioned, from the Metro Atlantic. Montana, Big Sky Country, they're representing. Murray State, they get in with their only one loss on the year, right? UNC, Asheville, St. Mary's wins the West Coast. They knocked off Gonzaga. South Dakota State gets in. VCU, they're back. They went Final Four last year. They're going to make another run, Bob? What do you think?
Possible.
They got 26, 27 wins, and Western Kentucky are the teams that have earned the automatic bids. Speaking of UConn, though, we'll go back to them real quick before we get to the Big East overall picture. How about those Lady Huskies?
Oh, that was tight at the
Notre Dame thinks that they got the Huskies number this year, knocking them off twice during the regular season, including blowing them out most recently about a week or so ago. Big East Championship, not so much. Lady Huskies knocked them down for their 5th straight title for Oriema's girls there, and they head to the big dance as well. We'll see if they get a #1 seed. I think they probably will. It'll be interesting because they were a #3 seed in the Big East. Notre Dame and St. John's were ahead of them, but they could be a #1 seed nationally. Interesting.
I mean,
where does that put those other teams?
The game was 30-31 at halftime. So I know Coach Oriema was really kind of probably sweating.
But he got them to pull through in the second half. They had a great performance and they win it, going away really down the stretch. So good job by them. You know, Baylor, of course, is the team to beat on the women's side. We'll see if they can make their run. I would think the Lady Huskies got a very good chance to make the Final Four at least. But, you know, we'll see what happens with them.
Where they fall in the bracket, that's another...
You got to see how the bracket falls, but I think they got definitely a Final Four run, and they're at least Elite 8. And we'll see if they can advance
That comes out, what, Sunday?
They come out Sunday. I believe they announced that after the men's bracket is announced Sunday at about 6 o'clock. We'll find out where everybody falls. Back to the Big East. Cincinnati won a double overtime thriller just before we came on the air here against Georgetown today. And that was a battle inside. Power. Two big guys down low, one versus the other for Georgetown and Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a team nobody really talked about all year. But let's take a look. You got to figure definitely, we know Syracuse, Notre Dame, Marquette, Georgetown, Louisville, UConn now looks like a lock. Cincinnati, I think, now definitely is a lock. Where does that leave South Florida, who won last night, and they play again tonight? And then you got Seton Hall. They're going to be on the outside looking in, and West Virginia, I think, is on the outside looking in. If you put all those teams in, that's 10. Big East was down this year. There's no way they get 10 teams. I don't think they get 9 teams. So I think Seton Hall and West Virginia are out because South Florida earned it last night by winning, and they get a chance to even better their chances tonight. And then with Cincinnati winning today over Georgetown, they have to be in. So that's 8 teams. It's going to be interesting. Did you happen to catch the payback that the Tar Heels gave to those Blue Devils down in Cameron the other day, this weekend?
Yep. I caught a little bit of it.
They absolutely blew out Duke big time in that one. So they got their revenge. So that knocks Duke out of the #1 seed. No way Duke can be that 4th #1 seed. Those traders that we don't like to talk about up in upstate New York wearing those orange jerseys, they'll be a #1 seed. Kentucky will be a #1 seed. Right now, I think Kansas is probably the other #1 seed. Missouri, perhaps? They could slide up, or Carolina might have put themselves back in position. I'm not too sure where they go for that other one. We'll have to wait and see how these other conference championships play out. So that's the college basketball scene. How about some NFL news, Bob?
Anything good?
Peyton's place, no longer residing in Indianapolis.
Where is he going?
He is no longer the Manning, not the Manning.
Is he going to the Jets, the Cowboys?
Bye-bye.
Or...
Pity poor Peyton as he cries himself to a river. Tearful farewell to his fans in Indianapolis. Miami is the front runner. Maybe. Maybe he goes there. The Jets are still, I mean, I think it's half the fans want him, half the fans don't want him. They're not in the running.
Right.
He's not going to come here and play. Arizona, possibly. I hear rumblings of Denver. I don't see that happening.
What about Tony Romo go bye-bye and the Cowboys sign him?
No. Washington is a big money player. Seattle, perhaps. Some people are trying to talk San Francisco. No way. Do not see that happening at all. Heard rumblings of Houston. No way that is happening. Tampa Bay's got a lot of money down there. Tampa Bay's got a lot of money down there to spend. Where is he not going?
He ain't going to the Giants.
Not going to the Giants. They got themselves a quarterback. Not going to the Patriots.
They got a quarterback.
He's not going to the Saints, and we'll get to the Saints in a second.
Why don't we touch a little bit on
Peyton's place, and then we change to Peyton's bounty.
Yeah.
Mutiny on the bounty.
And the Saints are...
Saints.
All this comes
Saints
out.
are sinners. Oh, my goodness. This is an ugly story. This is going to get uglier as it goes. There's going to be big-time suspensions as it is revealed Greg Williams, the defensive coordinator for the Saints, had a bounty in place to knock players out, injure players, Bob. This is ugly. And if you remember, this bounty was in place when they went and won the Super Bowl. And remember the beating they put on Brett Favre in that NFC Championship game. They also ended Kurt Warner's career in that playoff run as well. He retired after they knocked him out. And this is going to date all the way back. Head coach at Buffalo he was. Used to coach for the Redskins. Also used to coach for the Titans, defensive coordinator. Now he's back with Jeff Fisher in St. Louis, currently as a defensive coordinator. I don't know if he's going to be able to take that job. He could be suspended for a year. I think he gets a huge suspension. I don't know what the player's suspension is going to be because it was put in place by the coach, even though there are a lot of players involved with this. And it's going to date all the way back because they're going to be able to dig up dirt.
If they go back 10 or 15 years, we could see some.
This is ugly. We know that injuries are a part of the game in the NFL, and we know that that takes place. But when you have a bounty in place to actually knock guys out, you get paid more money if he's carted off, paid more money if he's actually knocked out, doesn't return. You know, that is an ugly situation.
This isn't Slapshot.
No. So Greg Williams and the Saints coaches as well are going to get some fallout. There's going to be some heavy fines, loss of draft picks, and big-time suspensions. We only got about 5 minutes left. You want to talk about baseball for about 2 seconds?
Yeah, we'll talk about how's the Mets and Yankees doing.
Valley fever, Bob.
Yeah.
What's going on with your Mets? A new year, they find new ways to come up with injuries and illnesses.
Yes.
Ike Davis is suffering from valley fever.
Yeah, same thing with, David Wright's got rib problems, so.
Oh, my God.
You know, Santana.
2 words for Met fans. Valley fever. It's not pennant fever.
No, they had a great
come to grips with that.
On
we'll have a doctor on the show next week, and he can explain it to us. The Yankees got a little bad news
too.
Watch out for David Robinson. Excuse me, not Nate Dogg. David Robinson, a little oh my shoe!
Yeah.
Falling down the steps at home last night. Reminds me of the old Eddie Murphy routine. Oh my shoe! My shoe! David Robinson. Sounds like it could be a serious injury. We'll wait for more tests tomorrow. But he is out.
What about A.J. Burnett?
Yeah, we talked about A.J. He's old. We'll forget about A.J. We'll put more dirt on him as the season gets going. But that's all the baseball I want to get to. NBA, Brick City, losers of 3 straight. Losers of 3 out of they're 3-6 in their last 9. So much for that 7-game winning streak. They had the big marquee matchup with the Celtics. Celtics, who had won 5 straight before last night's blowout against the Sixers. But the C's, the Boston Jokers, get the last laugh in overtime on Sunday against the Knicks. It was all the truth. It was no insanity, no vanity. It was the truth, and Rajon Rondo with an epic triple-double. We're talking Wilt Chamberlain, Magic Johnson type triple-doubles. as he put up just ridiculous numbers in that game, and they win. The Fakers, I know you always like it when I pick on the Fakers. How about this last night? First they lose to the Pistons in overtime the other night. Then last night, up by 21 points against Les Wiz, the Wizards, and they blow it, and they lose that game. Oklahoma City remains red hot, 9-1 in their last 10. Bulls 9-1 in their last 10. They're coming on strong. Heat and Memphis, the team I keep talking about, 8-2 in their last 10. T-Wolves, I keep talking about them. They're 7-3 in their last 10, and the Spurs also 7-3. Those are your NBA stories. NHL with 2 minutes left.
Rangers are doing.
I keep talking about the Islanders. They are 7 points out, but first they beat the Rangers, then they beat the Bruins, then they beat the Devils. The Bruins go ahead and they beat the Devils, but then they lose to the Islanders and they lose to the Rangers. The Rangers go ahead and they lose to the Devils after beating the Bruins. So it was a topsy-turvy matchup all this past weekend long. Playoff scenarios, the Rangers are back top seed, tied with St. Louis, who have now moved out in front in the Western Conference with 91 points, tied with the Rangers for the top point total. The Winnipeg Jets are holding a 2-point lead in the playoff standings. The Caps are now 2 points out, and so is Buffalo. Tampa is 4 out. I mentioned the Islanders not going away quietly, but running out of time as they remain 7 points out. Out west, it is San Jose, LA, and the Avalanche all now tied for that 8th seed, 74 points, and the Calgary Flames at 72, 2 points out. So those wild playoff chases coming down the stretch for the NHL. So by this time next week, we will be a day in, half a day into the big dance. We'll see where everybody shakes out. There'll probably be some upsets and some bubbles and some bracket busters going down. Remember last year I had Louisville going deep and they lost in that first round. We'll see what happens then. We will get you some predictions maybe.
We'll talk more about the Whalers.
We'll see what happens with those Danbury Whalers. We fully expect, Bob, footage and them advancing to the second round of the playoffs in the FHL. That's the show. Thanks for tuning in. You can watch it again tomorrow if you feel like seeing me blabber on again at 1 o'clock. Thanks to the crew in the studio. Head on down to Danbury Ice Arena this weekend and root for those Whalers. Go team, go. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.